What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be doing another LeetCode problem on hash table. Once I finish this video, I'll probably start doing something like binary tree or trees, and specifically it'll be like binary trees. But yeah, LeetCode. So once again, I'll read the prompt, explain a little bit, write out the code, and then explain the code in a show example. And then towards the end, I'll talk about the time and space complexity. So question number 13, Roman to integer. Roman numerals are represented by 7 different symbols, I, V, X, L, C, D, M. And each symbol has its own value. For example, if 2 is written as the 2 I's in Roman numeral, just as 2 1s added together, 12 will be written as XII, which is simply X plus II. And then 27, you get the idea. Now, there are special cases where, like, for example, the numeral for 4 is not 4 I's, but instead it's I with a V towards the end, because the one before the 5 we subtracted to making 4. Now, the same principle applies to the number 9, which is written as IX. And then there are other instances where subtraction is used. So as we can kind of see, it's right here. And then, so given a Roman numeral, convert it into an integer. So our input will be the letters, and then our output should be a number. Very simple. So I'm going to write out the code, or sort of, I don't think I really need to explain too much on like what I need to say for the prompt. Like, what else can I say for the prompt? How can I explain this? Okay, so I think the best way to say it is we're going to first scan the string from left to right. And then for each character, we want to look at its value and the value of the next character. If the current value is less than the next value, you want to subtract current from total. Otherwise, you just add current to the total. So this way, it will probably, if current value is less than next value, it automatically handles those like subtraction pairs. Because let's say for number 4, right? Which is IV. I is the current, and then V is the next. But I value is less than the V value. So when that happens, we want to subtract current from total. So I'm going to write that out. Let's do int total equals 0, integer n for length. And then, actually, before that, I want to write out the helper method first. This is the helper method. And it's going to return integer value for a Roman character. Boom, boom, boom. So it's going to be private integer value of. I'm going to have C in here. And then let's do switch C. And we have case I, return 1, case V, return 5. Case X, return 10. Case L, return 50. Case C, return 100. Case D, return 500. And then lastly, case M, which returns 1000. And then we should have a default that's going to return 0. But this one, there we go. But this one should never like hit for valid input. So you will never really see the 0. We got to keep it there just in case now. Okay. So now that I finished the helper value, let's continue here. Let's write a for loop, which is going to just go through it once. We're going to go through like the string once, basically. So I++, and then int current. Now the current is going to be where we're going to pull out the value, the helper method. So value of, and then we're going to basically get the letter, the current letter. Now I want to write something where it's going to let me look ahead. Basically, if I plus 1 is less than n, I'm going to get int next, and this is going to be the next value that we're going to be looking at and compare. I plus 1, there we go. If current is less than next, this is the part where I mentioned if, say, I is less than V, if we see that, then we get the total minus the current, else total plus current. Now we're gonna have and we're gonna have another else here where this is also gonna be the same thing. This is like the last character, just add it basically. And then total, well, we want to return the total. And that should be it. So basically what we have here is we set up variables, which is right here. The total will store the final integer result. N is just the length of the string. So, you know, we don't have to keep calling it repeatedly inside the loop, as you can see with n and, well, I only put 2 n's, but you get the idea. Just to make it simple. Now I did a for loop over each character basically. So it's going to go from index 0 all the way to n minus 1 for here. And then, so for this part, what we're getting is, this is where we're getting like the Roman characters at position I. So for example, if index 0 and the symbol is like I or whatever, we get that. And then we have the value of, which is going to help us return what the integer is. So it's going to convert that Roman character into its integer value using the helper function. And then the current, which is what I wrote, is basically the numerical value of the current Roman symbol. Now with this part this is where it's going to look at the next character if it exists. So when we check that I plus 1 is less than n to make sure that the next character exists. If yes, we compute next equals the value of the next Roman numeral, or Roman symbol basically. So this part is going to help us check whether there is a next character or not. And if there is, we're going to write out that next character and then, you know, do the same thing, convert it into an integer value. So this basically looks ahead for us to check if there are any cases where it's like number 4, which is IV, or 9IX. Now for the part that's inside of it, this is the if and else statement that's going to decide whether to add or subtract. And like I mentioned, if current is less than next, that means we are doing the subtraction part for example, like the IV, right? So current is going to be I, which is 1, and next will be V, which is 5. So 1 is less than 5. So what it's going to do is total is going to minus equal the current, which is 1. So, and then later when we move to the 5, the V, current equals 5. So, and there's no bigger number like after it, so we'll add 5. So what's going to show is going to show something like -1 plus 5, which is 4. And then otherwise, in normal cases where the current is greater or equal to next, we just add the current value together. I'll show example. So if it doesn't make sense, I'll show example. And then here's the last character case, sort of. So basically, if the I plus 1 is equal to n, then that means there is no next character. We are at the end of the string, so we just add the last value to the total. Afterward, we just return the total, which is the result, and that is basically the final integer representing the Roman numeral. And as you can kind of see, I already wrote it out. This function is just maps a simple Roman symbol to its value. I use switch just for clarity. You can use like an if-else statement, if-else chain, or obviously you can also use the the map character, map with character and integer. Like, you can do that, but I just decided to this one because it's just simple and fast, you know. Of course, like, if it works, you can do the map, you can do the if-else chain. It's all up to you. So let's do a quick example walkthrough for exam. So let's do, I'll probably do this one later, but actually I don't even know. But let's do something like number 9, right? So what they're gonna have is S is gonna be equal to IX, so that's 9. What we have here is total is gonna be 0, is set to 0, and I is 0 right now because now we're going through the for loop. There we go. Now the current, which we're gonna grab from the value of 1, which is the first one right here, right? So we're grabbing this one first, and it's gonna show that when we go to the value of, it's gonna show the switch. So we're gonna return 1 because I'll just write it out. Okay, so current is gonna be equal to value of, and it's gonna show I, and that's basically telling us that current is 1. And then afterward, next, it's gonna show the value of X, which is gonna be 10. And the reason why the next works is because is showing us that there is a value, like there is a value after the I. So that's why we're going through this if statement here. So now that it shows, we have next being 10, and now we're gonna check the if else statement, right? Is the current less than next? It is. So if that's the case, then what we're doing is we're gonna do total minus 1. And that's going to be -1 because right now the total is 0. Because we haven't moved the I, like the I is still 0, so right now we're still in like the very first part. Now afterward I becomes 1. Becomes 1. So when that happens, now current is basically the value of X now. And that's going to be 10. Now we check, is there any characters, is there any anything afterward? No, there isn't. So that means now that we're basically done with this if statement, we move down to here, which is just gonna add in the rest of the total. So current now we do total is gonna be equal to total plus current. And that's basically -1 plus 10. And that's going to give us 9. So, and if say, when we look at something like this, as an example, like I'm not really going to go through the whole thing, but you can kind of see that whenever a symbol is smaller, whenever a smaller symbol comes before a larger symbol, we subtract it. Other than that, we just add them up. And that's exactly how humans sort of like reads Roman numerals too. So you can kind of see something like that. It just shows. It works. Don't worry. Okay, let's run it. It should work. Yep. Case 1, 2, 3, everything works. And let's just submit. Perfect. Yeah, it works. It's good. All right, so time and space complexity. So for time, all we did was we just kind of scanned the string once. So we're just going through it once. So for time, it'll be big O of n time. And for space, it's actually just big O of 1. Because we use just like a few variables and a helper function. So the big O of 1 is just extra space. That's it. Yeah, and that's it for the video. Thanks for watching.